Coming to you live from the podcast studios of Mount Zion Baptist Church with my friend and compadre, Emmanuel Griffin. Can't remember when events are or anything else, but it's a member of our church. Sandy Shure. Sure. I can't roll my R, right? Shure. Can you do it, John?
I believe it's just girl in Cambodian.
It is.
That's the translation. So, Sandy girl.
Sandy girl. Thanks for being here, Sandy.
Yeah.
And we bring our friend and partner in crime and partner in ministry, Mr. John Lee, onto the podcast. Had a heart for outreach before he ever had a heart for Mount Zion. That's a fact.
That's heavy.
Yeah. I didn't even know what Mount Zion was.
That's right.
So.
Let's go, 18 years ago? None of us did.
Yeah.
How old are you, man? 23 now?
23.
Okay, so 23 years ago, none of us did. You happen to be born in the education building, but yeah. Other than that, everything going well for you guys?
No complaints.
Week's good?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah? Good?
Yep, good stuff.
Cheese! We got a photographer in the room today. Peace. Little man traveling in from Colorado today, making a guest appearance on the show. So we're happy to have Uriah in the building today. He literally just got off a plane. And so this man has traveled more air miles than I have. So it's pretty awesome.
He definitely has.
That's a
Yeah.
fact.
He definitely
Yeah.
has more air miles than me.
Fact. So we last time we met, what did we talk about, guys? Can someone refresh
It
my
wasn't
memory?
relationships. It was the one before relationships.
Yeah, it was. It was called The Christian Life is one of endurance and something. Because we were talking about not giving up and not quitting. Have you guys felt any different about not giving up and not quitting since last time we got together?
Nope. I wanted to give
she
up
said
and
it
quit
so
this morning.
quickly.
Well, I'm still alive. So.
That's what
Go ahead and elaborate, Sandy. It sounds like you have a lot to say.
I was trying to open the floor for her because I know how she had. I know her morning already. And it's an interesting to try to talk about ministry. I guess feelings we have in ministry out loud, because you don't want to offend anybody, but we're all in this together, and it's just it's hard to do ministry and to just be around people. And I think what I've been learning lately is that grace and mercy extended on my behalf because God extended it to me is way more important than I think I thought it was.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that? So this is what I went home saying last week. Either I have to lower my standards or I have to just keep my standards and not be disappointed with people's non-growth or whatever. What is the right answer there?
I think either one you're going to be disappointed.
Well, yeah, I think because I'm trying to find something in people, right?
You're
So
right.
I get it. So don't put it in people. But maybe, I don't know how to ask the question. It's not necessarily individual people. It's just overall, as you're a leader of a group of people and you see growth in numerous things, but there's still those couple of pockets of things that are going to hinder the overall growth of everything no matter what. That's what I'm struggling with leading through right now. And it's just because I think if we really quizzed everyone and got down to the core of it, everyone's heart is Jesus. I think that for a fact. But it's just something happens in between surrender to Jesus, being a part of the church, and being around other people working and serving. Your humanity creeps back in.
Yeah.
Both ways.
Don't look at me. I don't have.
What do you think, John? So John's here today because John Lee is here today because, like I said, he had a heart for outreach before he had a heart for Mount Zion, which is definitely true. So he had a heart for Jesus before any of that. But he helps us with Open Gym. He does a bunch of outreach with flag football. There are people in this community that know him that don't have any idea who Mount Zion is. And so he's just a very influential person in our community as far as outreach and the gospel and things like that. And so that's why we brought his expertise in today to be with us. And so what do you think about that? Because you would be around people that don't know Jesus. You may introduce them to Jesus. And so you're going to see their growth or not growth over a period of time. How do you handle that as their leader? Do you take too much on your shoulders on you, or what's the
How do you
balance
stay
there?
encouraged? I think. would be a
All right.
question, too.
Confession time.
Yeah.
Deep down, I think with my upbringing and everything, I naturally inclined to dislike people a lot. I had trust issues growing up, grew up in an abused household, and I think when it came to becoming a leader, it wasn't natural for me to love people enough to hold them accountable of anything, right? I think it wasn't until I actually had the call to love Christ and love what he loves that it kind of shaped me to actually reach out to people, to build people up, to hold people accountable. And I think that's the question that actually I feel like that's the call in my life right now. It's just to hold men in my group accountable for things. And when we're talking about accountability, we're talking about, holding people responsible for their dreams, right? And in this context, what's our dream?
To glorify God.
To glorify the Lord, to build the kingdom, to be men of God. And it kind of starts with you personally, right? Because I have seasons where I'm like, man, forget these people. They're not what they're supposed to be. And I start thinking, luckily, God doesn't love me this way, right? If he did love me this way, man, we'd be done.
Yeah.
We'd be done, right? Is that a righteous love? I think so. I think it's righteous because you should get what you deserve. And if you're not meeting my expectations, then why should I lavish on you? Why should I love you? But then that's not how God loves us, right? He does have his righteous love, but then it's like, yeah, I love you so much, I'm gonna die for you type stuff. And I'm like, man, do I love these people like that?
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the start. That's not where we start with. We start with the inner man, right? Do I love God like that? And do I heed in obedience that, don't forsake the assembly of believers, but also be a good shepherd, take care of my sheep, love them. And then from there, I think not only does he strip your, forgive you and give you new clothes, but really you start seeing how he sees. You start to love how he loves.
Yeah.
And then from there, man, it's hard not to have expectation, but he doesn't love us with expectation. So like, do you truly love a person if the only reason you serve and take care of them is if they change? Because I'm pretty sure y'all have seen it, folks in ministry. You will pour into a certain person over and over again, only for them to do what?
Let you down.
Leave you, leave you, hate you, talk bad about you after you leave. And in your heart, you're like, I was so good to this person.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
I haven't really had the negative of someone leaving and talking bad about me. It's just leaving and acting like we never even knew each other. Like you never reach out, like never call, never nothing. It's like, oh man, it's like we never.
Worse.
That's immediate
They're like
abandonment.
indifferent now.
Yeah.
You know?
So it is interesting. No, I agree with you. Because it's hard to not set an expectation, I guess, just because for me personally, I do agree with you that it starts with Russell. Like my leadership starts right here. And if my heart's not in it, then I'm not leading Sandy well, E-Man, or anybody well. I'm going to come into it with an attitude and already a juxtaposition of whatever I want to feel, I'm going to feel. Like I'm not going to be not going to be taken in the right direction. I'm going to feel the way I feel. And that, I think a lot of my preaching sometimes goes back to self-help, because I'm like the setting expectations and knowing that I'm the one that is the person behind that, knowing myself and knowing sinfulness and stuff. I can see, like I'm like talking to myself most of the time, I think, cause I feel that.
Yeah.
I asked Sandy the other day, why is it that us that are called to serve people dislike people so much?
Because you know people.
Well, I know, but we're people.
Yeah.
And I think that somewhere in there I've tricked myself into thinking that I'm somewhat different.
Yeah.
Like now I'm this, and I don't think that like consciously, but I don't know, man. I guess I'm thinking out loud. Am I doing that, John? From your professional perspective, am I like setting myself somewhere like I've got it figured out? Why don't you? And then I'm putting that on you? Is that what I'm doing, Sandy?
I think the beauty of ministry is a lot of times we put ministry in like a whole nother category of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I kind of think like, why do people in ministry feel this way? But it's not really like that. If you follow the Lord, everyone's called to ministry. And the reason, like a lot of times, like I think we got this from Allie. She was in like a devotional and said, a lot of times where you criticize, where you have deficiencies, it's often a call that you have. Like you're able to see it, but because, I'm not in ministry, I don't have to do anything about that. It might be a place where you're gifted. Man, this dude sucks at preaching. Well, you might be really good.
Right.
Maybe you're the need that needs to take the lead.
Right.
But no, as leaders, like it does start with that. Like it's not that, we know this and so you need to know this too, or like, hey, I'm a pro at this, so let me teach you how to be a pro. But I think ministry calls you to live it, it challenges you to learn before everybody else has learned.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is obviously stuff that we challenge ourselves with when we get into it. And like, as I learn about it, as I teach it, as I preach it, it's kind of hard not to like have some of it stick.
Yeah.
So this would all be solved if everybody just went into the ministry.
Yeah. There you go.
You know?
And we would all be studying,
actually
preparing, and
got
like,
in there and lived it out.
yeah, John, what can you defeat the blue hippo
What can
thing?
you defeat the blue
Dude,
hippo?
And what happened?
right
Uriah?
here.
Yes.
See?
How old are
It's
you?
on you, Dad. You can't defeat him, but I
See?
can.
What
Breaking
I could
news.
never do. You hear his criticism, right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, why couldn't you do this?
I just did it so
Obviously,
easy.
It's something that you're gifted in,
Yeah.
bro. You know?
Way to go, Uriah. That was
Have
awesome.
a seat and keep.
Keep defeating blue
How,
hippo. man.
how old is he?
He's 6.
He's 6. He just crushed a level of blue hippo that John couldn't beat. So take that.
Man.
Yeah, there
That
you
was a
go.
perfect example.
That was.
Like he
Right
has
on
the
time.
gift to beat it,
This
and you
guy.
tried so many times, and
Yeah.
it was just his time to do it.
That's
That's
not a
awesome.
lie either.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. That blue hippo's crazy, right?
Blue hippo's wild.
Oh,
So yes, if everyone just went into ministry, then they would see all the things that we see in life would just be so easier. Yeah, I do think you're right though, John. It's a lifestyle, and I'm learning that still though. Even 15 years into this, whatever, since '08, whatever I've been here. '08 I started. I keep thinking it was '08, but I started as a janitor in '08, so I really wasn't ministry, right?
That's
It was
ministry work.
2012. I was actually on staff. So, but yeah, in all that, I think I'm still learning how I have to be in like these relationships with people in order for any of it to matter or make sense. Because I can keep talking to them and preaching and being a good example and whatever, and they'll keep respecting me as pastor. Yes, that's a fact. But there's no change whenever I'm not with them. And like, I have a hard time with the accountability part you're talking about. Like, not just saying I expect this, going back and saying like you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like what happened, bro? Like I don't know what my fear is there. If it's fear of making someone upset with me, and then they just say, well, fine, then get someone else to do it. Because we said this before, but we have a 95% volunteers. Like the people that get paid on staff, other than myself, are getting paid not what they're worth. They're part time, and it's whatever. And so. Yeah, so it's volunteers, and so you can't. How far can you push a volunteer?
Right.
Well, if they were surrendered 100% to Jesus, you could push them as far as you wanted, because they're like, it's not for you, it's for Jesus, and that's what I'm trying to learn. Like, how do I come along beside people that are about 80% and keep them?
Oh yeah.
Keep
I
them
get thrown off
motivated
my
as well.
game whenever I think that I've preached or taught and am leading in such a way, and then I get some comments from other people that lead me to believe that everyone's not getting it, and then it leads to messages today, like started off the message like, okay, if we're going to murmur, let's just know what happened to God's people when they murmured. You know, just make sure we know, because there's not a lot of murmuring. And, you know, just like when the Israelites were out there, I don't know if there was a lot of murmuring or if it was just a pocket of people. Because here, if we have 100 and something people, I would say there's like, what's 2 people out of 100 something, 2% around there.
Yeah.
So it's like 2%, right? But it's like the bad kids in the class, and they always get all the attention of like the teachers and stuff. And so I'm trying to just lead through that, because I don't want to get defeated in just like a couple of people's perspectives. And I want to keep living life like we did yesterday in the pickleball thing. We were all together, and there was like 60 people here, and like I didn't know half of them that came to play or whatever, but God was here and we were here, and it was like there was this community thing happening. And so in that good, I don't want to like that to be smoldered out by
Yeah.
someone's murmuring.
No, I agree with that.
I don't know.
What are they murmuring about?
Well,
That's the next. That's
Just kidding,
usually the next question.
That's gossip. My bad. I can't do that.
go listen to my sermon today. I said several times what they're murmuring about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I said several times, and it's just like the most nonsensical things. Like it's just silly things. So it's like I said today, if you have mentioned this, and this, then guess what you weren't mentioning? Jesus. Because if you were thinking about him in this service, you would have never noticed this, and this. You would have you would have just been
true.
And
with him.
That definitely needs to be like the focal point. I think a lot of times when you have like the big time leader or like the gifted, charismatic, whoever up there, it gets really caught up about them and not about the word.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think people really get caught up with, hey, this person is this person is that. If only he could do this.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, but our reality, it doesn't matter who steps up there and delivers the word. That's God's word,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It starts with the reverence for his word. And to be honest, like you as a leader doing everything you can and them saying stuff about you, I don't know. Pride happens real quick, right? Hey, thank God we have people who murmur. Thank God we have people who like will hold you accountable real quick.
Yeah.
I think like as a ministry person, you kind of have to like have that inner life to sit back and be like, how much of this is actually my pride? How much of this is something that I need to address? And how much of this is just them trying to beat me down, a different agenda?
Yeah.
You know, I had somebody who was really passionate in the ministry for a long time, but then people would say stuff about him. And instead of him like owning up to a lot of it, what he did instead was he changed his whole approach and got really emotional, kind of angry, and got bitter and spiteful, right? So we sat down and I was like, man, thank God they don't really know who you really are.
How many times have you said that?
Thank God. You know, because that inner man is so much worse.
Yeah.
Right? And so we take it with a grain of salt, but it keeps us humble.
And the thing is, the murmuring, none of it was directed towards me. I think it was more like it was directed towards other people that I work with, and it like offended me like I'm a dad and you talked about my kid. And I'm like,
team lead.
I will take you out. Like, that, I mean, do not complain about that. That is, if you only knew what goes into that happening. So it's just like, and it's like very minuscule in the whole scheme of what God is doing. And so don't want it to really distract too far from us, because God is doing a lot of cool things. But I just thought it needed to be addressed. And I don't like doing that. And I don't know how it came across, if it even made sense. But I just felt like that's what God wanted me to say. And that's why I ended it with like, whoever needs to hear it, I hope you heard it. The thing was, they weren't even in church. But you know, you can't control that.
How it works, right?
You can't control that. They'll catch it on the.
This person's watching.
They'll catch it on the video. Yeah, they'll catch it on the video. So it's all good. It's all good.
Definitely.
It's growth though, and it's. I think it's part of leading and taking people from that mindset, like John was saying, where it's not about a person or anything. It's about Jesus, and like when we get there, and that's what we're trying to lead people to, and that becomes difficult because, like you said, we have been. God has revealed things to us in this room that he hasn't revealed to others. That's just how it works. Like when you answer a call, he reveals certain things to you more than he will to someone that is not. And so there are certain things that we've experienced and do know, and that if people would just grasp and follow along with us, as Paul said, imitate me as I imitate Christ, they wouldn't experience certain things in their life. But it's not because of me. Yeah. I'm just following Jesus. And so you can do it too. And I just don't understand I don't understand why you would just come up to someone and just say something negative for no reason. Like, it doesn't edify anything. Like, it doesn't build anyone up. It's not like you go to them and say, hey, I noticed this, and I can help in this way. It's just like, hey, I noticed this. Okay. Like,
thanks for all the criticism. No help.
For sure. It definitely goes both ways. Like, yes, it's your opportunity to stand up and serve in the church and do your part. But some of it's real. Some of it comes from somewhere. Yeah. I remember watching this also a podcast, and it was between like two major people that I like watched growing up when I first, because I didn't become a Christian like a real Christian till like 2013, and these were the two big dogs then. It was Mark Driscoll, and Francis Chan, and they were talking, and some dude who wrote another book, but whatever. Right?
Some irrelevant
that guy ended up becoming an apostate. We'll talk about that later.
Oh wow.
But between these two guys, Francis Chan had just wrote this like crazy book called Crazy Love, and it was like making all this money. He was being touted as like one of the best communicators in the church, and Mark Driscoll was kind of like in that same boat as well. He had this huge church called Mars Hill, and at its peak was like one of the largest churches in America, right? And it wasn't like a prosperity gospel church. It was a legit like, hey, we're in the Word. This is the truth type of church. And what Mark Driscoll said to Francis Chan, he was just like, we are special. Like, we're so special that like, how can you withdraw from the big stage? Because people need people like us to relate to and to communicate well. And you know, at the time I'm just like, wow, these guys are really anointed, right? But then you look back at how Francis Chan responds, and he's just like, it's not about us, dude. Because all this fame, all this money, all this stuff had gotten to Francis Chan where he was like, I'm actually going to step away from the mega church. I'm going to go and invest in like the home church, because I feel like that's how we're gonna grow.
Mhm.
In this one central location, or you can multiply by investing in these small groups of people, like how Jesus did it, and they were worshiping Francis Chan, not God, right? And does anybody know what happened to both of them?
I
10
don't know Mars Hill story, no.
10 years later, there's a whole documentary on it.
Mm.
You actually watch it's I think it's called The Fall of Mars Hill.
Oh, well.
Yeah, where Mark Driscoll got like the extreme part, like what is it? His leadership got kind of toxic.
Mm.
People would say things to him, try to hold him accountable, and he's like, forget that.
Move on, peasant.
Test.
Where his language started getting
Wow.
more abusive
Wow.
as time went on, and the church kind of just fell apart. But yeah, like that's just like the overall extreme.
Yeah.
I think it's good because as long as you're doing what David was doing, like bringing it up to the Lord, like where is it that I'm actually falling short, and where is it? Is it just like people murmuring?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. And so I think that what God is, honestly, this week, so I heard about this on Monday, whatever it's got my spirit hearing the murmur. It was like Monday. And so I felt like this whole week, God was, that's what he kept putting on my heart. And like I kept, every experience, relationship, conversation I would have was just like, man, why is the murmuring there? Because this is so good. Like this, like why are you? Why is that there? And I guess my thing is, it's like people that I put an expectation on that I think you should be at a different level, and maybe you're not. Just maybe I'm learning that you're not, and and so I take that with a grant. I take that and know how far to push you now or not, because now I know where you stand. Like, so it's like that's. I know who to not ask to be in the choir or to be on the praise team. I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
God.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that. So it's all good though. But overall, everything is really good.
Yeah.
Just in life, just in church. There's this financial thing that we will always have, I think, until Jesus does a miracle, which I don't even like to think about anymore, because he just keeps providing for that. And so that just takes care of itself, and then we're allowed to continue to keep doing ministry. And so that is a cool thing that we are experiencing here. But we brought John on to talk about outreach, though.
Yes.
And we've been talking about not outreach. Somewhat outreach, but not what? Everything's outreach. And so I guess, John, in your life, you mentioned it briefly, it was a rough upbringing. I know the story, so I just know there were some dad things going on, just rebellion as a teenager kind of things, all that kind of stuff. What took that guy and led him to others? And where you wanted to use like sports because you're an athlete and to do it?
False.
I don't know, man. I see you on the flag football.
False. Big time false. All right. So growing up, I grew up in where everybody was athletic, right? And guess who wasn't? This guy that you just called an athlete, right? Like super inadequate. Not having that father figure, attaching myself to the wrong crowd, until somebody came into my life and decided to disciple me. And that's when I kind of saw the difference. When I say disciple, this dude was about the same age as my older sister. At this time, my older sister had like ran off. She just didn't want to be in Georgia anymore. She wasn't even 18. She just left for Chicago and made a life for herself. Wow. Kind of gangster, yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Takes a lot of courage.
But here I am. And so here I am, not knowing what it means to be a man, letting the world shape me, and at the same time hating everything and everyone, right? And then my mom takes me to youth group at the church, and there's this youth pastor, and just poured into my life, taught me how to shave. You did a bad job, bro. Right? Taught me like the little simple things. And he was just like, man, like, where do you learn some of the principles of being a man? Apparently sports, right? And so he was really big into sports, kind of got me into it, even though I hated every minute of it, because your dude was really uncoordinated, right? Super uncoordinated, not faster than anybody, not as strong.
So the youth pastor.
Oh yeah. He really poured into us. Took time.
How old were you?
Down. I think I was like 15, 16. one of those.
Yeah.
But we were under his leadership for a while. He took a group of guys in, and we just had like just small talks about life, this, that, and the other. And in the process of that,
So that was back to that living life together, though.
true, yes. So he would literally challenge us, and we were like kind of a rough group.
Mm.
How rough, you say? Well,
How rough,
Yeah, how
John?
rough? What would you say? rough?
I would say out of like the 6 dudes, 3 of us ended up in prison.
Oh wow.
Yes. Let's go.
3 of us ended in
Like-
prison.
Jeez.
I think like a couple of us got our life together, got married and all that stuff, but then had a little stint of, trafficking across the border type stuff.
Wait, did you say trafficking?
Nah, never happened. Go ahead and censor this whole podcast, right? And then I'd say 3 of us joined the military, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of saved our lives.
Right.
And so he did his best, right? Obviously, we thought we knew better,
Yeah.
but it left an impression on me nonetheless.
Mm.
And motivation for those of us in ministry, it's the little things. It's the little seeds that people remember, because he's forever a part of my testimony.
Yeah.
Even where he falls off in my life, he did leave seeds of Christ in
Mm.
there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And God definitely cultivated that. So when I went into the Marine Corps and I was godless, right? And then I come out and I am so aware of my godlessness because of what I was taught in my youth.
Yeah.
Right? Because this dude would sit down and tell us how God loved us, and how I started to realize, man, like I'm not living up to the standard, right? And nobody can.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I made a commitment to the Lord that if I was going to do it, I was going to go all the way, right? And so the story goes that I sat down, had a moment with the Lord, and I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, at the whole time, I had aspirations of becoming like a physical therapist, and I was a bio major at Clayton State. Lord,
So you weren't an athlete. You were going to take care of athletes.
Right.
I was just like, I don't even
I can't
like,
even see you
this
working with people
stuff.
like that right now.
dude. It's crazy.
You wouldn't have
I hate
the. You wouldn't have
school.
the concentration to be like, do this stretch 20 times. You'd be like so
Dude, I'm
bored.
stretching with you, right?
It's like, here, I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah, I was on it though. I was like the best shape of my. I was fresh from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And
I saw those pictures. You were.
Meathead City, right? Yeah, it's just the little seeds. And,
Yeah.
and so I was just like, man, how do I get people together and show them the value of being a community? Oh, flag football. And so slowly we built this group, outreaching them. But before all that, it was just a moment with the Lord.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to read the Bible like that, but I knew that that was God's word from what I heard in my discipleship growing up. So I fortune cookied the Bible. I opened it up, and what did it fall on? It fell on Exodus when Moses is talking to God in the burning bush, saying how inadequate he was, how I'm not the one who should be doing this. My mouth can't speak. And then how does God rebuttal? He says, well, who made mouths, dude? You know?
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so I was just weeping. I was like, man, I really don't like people, and you're calling me to really, really
To really
love
like people.
them.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel that cry because when Pastor Chris left, and I felt like, okay, I think I'm here. Like I remember laying in my living room floor crying, like I don't want to, and it was that
Yes,
cry. Like I
yes.
don't like people like that,
Yes.
and I know the call. I know that once I say yes to this, it's going to require me being like all in on people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have to be, and I don't want to be God. And it was literally like physical tears. Like it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
real moment. Yeah.
No, for real. It was the I just got a whooping crying. You know what I'm talking about? Where you
Yeah.
skip a breath like,
Your mom's like, breathe.
Reminding you to breathe. That's some
oh
deep
man,
tears right
that's
there.
that's real, man. And that brings me back, because it's like, oh, man, you got to remember why you got into it, and
Yeah.
it was because God lavished on me. You know, when I was at the depths of my life, and if I was at the depths of my life, and it brought me to like, man, I'm talking about my body hurt every day. I was like, taking all these drugs that the government gave me.
I was like, where is this going?
Right? I had just gotten out of a bad breakup, for somebody that I thought was going to be my life partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank God that
Mhm.
wasn't a thing. Right?
Yeah.
He saved me from so much. And at that point, I was just like, man, I owe him everything.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do it, I can't go halfway. So I started walking around Clayton State. And some of y'all may remember because a lot of people went
Yeah.
to Clayton State.
Mhm.
And I went over and I was just like, yo, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, but
I'm John
let me
Lee.
talk
But
to
I'm
you
John.
about Jesus. And I showed genuine concern.
Yeah.
I decided that, man, I really dislike sports, but I'm going to sign up for everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I never played volleyball in my life, but I'm not going to lie, I saw a bunch of Asian kids playing
Mhm.
volleyball, and I was like, yo, I'm Asian.
That's me. I'm
I
in.
can fit in.
I'm in.
I can try to play.
Yeah.
And then that was literally my first Bible study. Just everybody that played volleyball that day. I was just like, hey guys, don't want to sound crazy, but the Lord spoke to me and said that I need to talk about him a lot, and I would like for you guys to come. And, you know, when you think about college kids, oh, they're so skeptic. They're so this, they're so that. They were like, yeah, sure, we'll be there. What time?
Right. You got
Like-
food? Perfect.
Yeah, for real. And they came and we just talked. We talked kind of like this, and just like, yo, what is life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's going on? This is all I know about the Bible, and I realized that my knowledge was so limited.
Mm.
But I still wanted to be a physical therapist. I went to the school. I did everything. I went there and I applied and I did all this stuff. And I just remember David Luong.
Yeah.
He was part of that original group, and we had this moment where we all came together and prayed. And mind you, David Luong has only been a Christian for like two days or something like that.
Mhm.
And so we're in Savannah. We get together. We start praying, and everybody does their whole "Thank you, God, for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You're great. I love you."
Mhm.
But then when it gets to David, and sadly I have to go after this guy. He just 2 days of being a Christian just pours his heart out, and he's saying like, God, I wish there was something like this for everyone.
Mm.
I hope
Mm.
the group never breaks apart, you know, that we love you forever. And I was just, it churned.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be
Wow.
doing. This is
Mhm.
what we all should be doing,
Yeah.
right? Community, life together, you know? And then from that point, I was just like, I'll try harder. I'll try harder.
Yeah.
And then I have this Bible study, and we grow very fast of just a bunch of people just being organic,
Yeah.
meeting up in a house. I don't think at this time, unless you had already been baptized and decided to come to the Bible study, that we had any Christians. But then the next week, we had like 12.
Mm.
And before, the whole block was lined up.
Mhm.
And I was just, obviously, it got to my head.
Mm.
Because I'm that type of dude. My head get big quick.
Mm.
So I have to like insult myself in order to keep myself sane. Right?
Yeah, I get that. Rein yourself back.
yeah. Bring it back. And at that time, I was just like, dude, what did I do? It was all about me at one point
Mm.
because I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what is this? And I prayed. I was like, God, like, am I doing something wrong? It's about me.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it is. It's
Yeah.
about us.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was like, God, just show me that I'm supposed to go all in because I don't know what I'm doing. And that day, this girl named Sylvia accepts the Lord, dude named Eric, and this girl named Lena. I still remember, right? Those three came up to me and was like, hey, we don't really know what this is, but we want to give our life to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And after they all left my house, I was like, all right, I'm going to Bible college.
Yeah.
I need to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I can't just be spewing this stuff that I saw
Yeah,
in like
yeah, yeah.
YouTube videos. Or
Right.
what my youth pastor taught me when I was like 15. You know, there has to be more substance. There has to be more than just this milk that I'm, you know. But the beauty of the gospel is that it's such a simple story. You say it over and over enough, the power never goes away.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's when we lose sight of the simple stuff that we kind of just like go on our own way. You know, that we lose awe of how, man, I was saved.
Yeah.
You know, we lose the wonder, we lose the awe. And I think that's one of our responsibilities as people in ministries, never to lose the awe, never to lose the wonder. But I
Mhm.
end up going, one of the girls that accepted Christ, I ended up marrying her. So yeah, life is good.
Yeah. Let's go. You my boy. Yeah.
Nah,
Do you want a
that's
wife to start a Bible
There you
study
go. You
Dude,
that attracts the good girls?
dude. She didn't even know the 10 Commandments, bro.
But look at her now.
No, it's crazy because when I went to that school, I definitely felt a pull call to go there, and then like a year later, she showed up at the school.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I was like,
All right, God.
All right, God.
cool.
Yeah, very
Cool.
cool.
You're moving.
Very cool. And I've witnessed from afar. I've worked with you as far as open gyms here, but just from afar, there are very genuine relationships that came from all that. I mean, there are
For sure.
people to this day that would die for you. Like they just love you. Like they know Pastor John, and you've never been a pastor.
That's crazy. I'm like, let me downplay myself real quick. 'Cause he getting to me.
And they will call Pastor John quickly. So that's really cool. But that's it. It's just like getting someone to see that is the mission, right? Like getting someone to embrace what you felt and saw and know God did in your life, how it can correlate to their life. That's the trick. I mean, trick is not the word. That is the goal. Like that is what we're trying to do.
It's the aim. Yeah.
The aim. And so when you think that people are pointed at that target right there, start pointing at her, going right at her, and then you are actually going that way. I'm like, but wait, I thought we were all going
I
at
thought
this.
we're on the same page.
Yeah, I thought we were going to this target right here. What are we doing? And then you got, like you said, go all the way back to it's not about me.
Mhm.
Jesus saved me. He's trying to work in their lives. I'm going to keep, because
Yeah.
I'll quickly, like I said, starting like just be like, God, you don't get it. What are we doing here?
Mhm.
Like, let's grow up.
The frustration
Yeah.
gets,
So
gets quick.
Yeah, the goal has always been Jesus is better.
Yeah.
Jesus is greater than whatever you're
Yeah.
going through.
so
And
much.
So it's been a crazy ride because from a dude who really didn't like anybody, barely likes himself, to being here
Yeah.
on a podcast talking about outreaching to people.
Of course.
It literally goes down. I think about when Jesus is going through, the countryside or just seeing all these sick people and the disciples are with them. And you would think that, well, he heals some of them. Scripture says he heals some of them. But then he turns over to his disciples and what does he say? You're just like, dude, you got to pray for these people. Like, I'm like, dude, aren't you the guy? That,
Right.
You can change everything. But then you think there's only one of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says what? Oh man, they're sick. They're in sin. They're being led astray. Pray for them. What should you be praying for? Oh, man, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few.
Mm.
Pray that the workers would come.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they prayed it because they all became the workers.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you think about the life of Peter, the dude that he poured so much into, the guy who, we all know denied him, but really loved him too.
Mhm.
Well, on the day of Pentecost, Peter brings more people to Jesus than Jesus brought people to Jesus.
Yeah.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
think about, but I think if we all sat down and kind of just prayed that prayer, look at all this, those people that are like, man, how can God be real if there's so much death and destruction and evil in the world? Dude, I think you'd be a great missionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would be really good at outreach. If you really feel for people that way, maybe if you took the time to just sit down and pray, like, man, I wish there were workers for this.
Yeah.
That God would use you to bring the kingdom to these people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how outreach starts.
Agreed. And I've witnessed, you said someone asked that question, why do good things happen to bad people? I just saw that 2 weeks ago. Someone asked that exact question. And so the people are asking that question still.
Mm.
And it's like, we've been around it so long. We're like, it's not God. We just know right away. God's not doing that. It's this. But people still have that understanding. And it's just interesting that it's still out there. I get so caught up in what I know in the world I'm in. Like I said before, when Luis got out of the ministry, the first thing he told me, well, when we met and hung out right after he got out, he told me, like, dude, there's like, you're in this protected bubble to where everyone you talk to knows Jesus or either is curious about Jesus or, has letting Jesus, something with Jesus.
Something Jesus.
He's like, so you're in this bubble to where, and you want to get it out, but you can't because all that's around you is this bubble.
Yeah.
And so that's all your conversations are ministry, this, that. And he's right, it is. And so he said, when I stepped out of the ministry and got out here, he's like, dude, like no one's trying to hear what I got to say.
Yeah.
It's like almost to the point where I don't even like try to push it. I'll say it and move on. He's like, and I thought that was a really bold thing he did, just to kind of get experience for what the real life is out there, of what people are actually experiencing, and that's the people you work with. I mean, it's the people that are like maybe not in church. The gentlemen that were here yesterday, they both did attend. I guess that one guy's dad was a pastor, so that was kind of interesting to learn. But they were like here just because of you. Because you invited them, and they got to see that there's a whole group of people here, and that's what we do. We're so good at that. Yeah. That's the part we're so good at. We can host an event, be outreach, and Jesus is the focal point. Man, we will nail that. And I guess what I'm trying to get to understand and learn in my life still is how do I get people of a different generation to feel that fire, to see the importance in that, to remember that you were saved at 1.2, and the way that whatever year that was, y'all connected with people is just we're trying to connect with people in a different way now. It's just a different way. And so it's all for Jesus, though. Like, aren't we in this all together? So I don't know. Let's see. Sandy, do you think that our humans, John was saying, like, how our emotions are out. I don't even like myself, he said. Mm-hmm. Does that play into your role as the worship leader? I know the answer for me, but
all the time.
And why?
I like myself. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, you say that almost jokingly, like, but what do you have to like yourself a little bit.
A little bit, you gotta like yourself. Yeah. I mean, of course, I love myself. But it's also just like you're reminded of like who you are, and deep down inside, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And it's this dirty person, and I'm like, we don't like people. We don't like doing these things, but
do we? I know we keep saying that.
I think deep down inside you do.
Like, is there something in us that we do?
I guess so.
Yeah, you continue to come back to work, so you.
It's the daunting part of it.
For a lot of people, it's not even that they hate themselves. I think they realize that they love themselves more than they love Jesus.
That's a good one.
Okay, I like that. Interesting.
But
so,
I mean, I have to remind myself. I have to step out of myself and let go of the control. I had to do that today because I really wanted to quit today. Like, I had so many people were just yapping in my ear, telling me something, saying things that were just like not nice. I legit almost cried walking off that stage after practice today, and I was just like, I don't want to do this, Lord. And I was like quick to snap and be like, okay, if you don't want to do it, then you do it. You know what I mean? Type of thing. I walked off the stage after that, and then I went to like the booth and just had to like sit, and I like talked to God, and I was like, Lord, just whatever this is, let me let go. Let me let go of that control, because I know it's me controlling, because I'm like, I feel this way because you offended me or something like that. It's always back to me. And I'm that type of person who always has to like, I always say, it's, I'm probably the problem. Like we talked about it this morning. It might be us that's the problem. So I always have to sit back and review and think like, what did I just do? What did I say?
Sandy told me on Friday or Thursday that we both suffer from imposter syndrome.
I mean, a little bit, right?
What do you mean by that, though?
Yeah, explain that. What do you mean?
I know what you mean, but I mean, for like someone that's like, what do they mean?
It's just like you're feeling like you're someone that you're not, even though like you are that person. It's like I go up on the stage, you go up on the stage, have to preach the word, and then you walk off the stage and you have to go back to being me. I'm not presenting what I presented
what I just
on the
presented.
Stage in my day-to-day life. That's just the facts, the truth of it. But it's also like I'm not being like
authentic,
a sinful person while I'm walking off the stage. I'm not being bad or anything like that. It's just the constant thought of like
the knowing that the depravity in this and the holiness and what I just did, they don't mesh.
Right, like you feel like an imposter. You feel like fake, but you're not being fake. But it's like
I get it. No, totally get it.
Really hard to explain. But
do you think this? Do you guys think that we are harder on ourselves than we should be? Because like I'm not saying in a prideful way. Like we got it going on. We're awesome. But like, isn't it okay to be like, we do a couple of things pretty good. Yeah. And like you should be at a different level and we should be growing. And my frustration with you is validated. Yeah. But we're beating ourselves up and going like, man, I shouldn't feel that way. Like I just don't like people and da da da. And I think that maybe on the other hand, we don't like people, but I think that's God changing that desire of our heart to where now we don't like them, we love them. That sounds cheesy, but that's what it is. We don't really like them, we love them.
Right.
We know that God can do something in their life, and we want that to be eternally changed. And so what I think I'm seeing in you and I, and I'm just, because we're kind of similar in our thoughts, we don't yearn for that in people, but God is changing that in us, and it hurts us when someone says something to us that is not in that same direction. Like this morning, what he said to you, what the person said to you was rude, and like, we're not going in the same direction if you say that. Like, whoa, you threw me off. What's happening? I thought we were all together, and then you say that, and so and we're very like, we get hurt easily. You drop one little thing to us, we'll be hurt. At least I will, and I think I know that about you. But yeah, so I don't know. Are you hard on yourself? Like, do you think you're harder on yourself?
He's in the same boat as us.
I'm the worst.
You're the worst.
Yeah, I'm the worst.
You mean as a person, I'm just the worst.
But I mean, I also don't think
Sorry.
that it's that bad to like be so hard on yourself, because like you do better.
Well, you told me that one day. I was
Right.
like, you're too hard on yourself, and you're like, but it makes me better.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, then we
Totally.
can't. Then you can't be
can't ever
both
say it.
sides.
You can't.
It's
You
kind
can't
of
ever say
sad.
that.
You can't complain about this and being like, but it makes me better. Then don't. Okay.
Then you can't be mad that you're hard on yourself.
So I think about why positions like what
49. Okay.
like what Pastor Chris has.
Yeah.
What's his title now?
Something
Pastoral
over pastor wellness. Yeah, pastor
Like, why
wellness.
do we even need that?
Yeah.
Right? It's because of stuff.
Bigger question.
Yeah.
How come they've never came to Mount Zion and checked on this pastor? That's a bigger question.
He already
I
did
don't
it
think
for
that's-
like the
that
past
just
10
sounds
years.
like- We can die
Petty.
today.
No, I'm not saying him. I'm just saying whoever is over this region.
So we need to. What is this region called?
The
No,
ghetto.
it's so real though.
Talking
It's so
about
real.
the ghetto.
No, that is true though.
My wellness needs cared for.
I
No
always
one's
joke
here.
that we need some kind of counselor in our office. Remember?
Is that a
Sucks
real?
when you're the counselor.
Right.
I know, and that's why I come lay on y'all's couch sometimes, like in the young adult room. That one day it was just Allie and Wang Cheng in there and one other person, and I just laid on the couch. I was like, it's a counseling session. I'm gonna tell you how I feel. And all these are. I think that sometimes in my mind and my heart, these problems get exaggerated and they're worse than they are, because like I like to keep reminding myself, things are going really well. There are people giving. There are people serving. I mean, you had probably 15 to 20 people yesterday at your beck and call. They would have done anything that you asked. They would have ran around the building 10 times if you told them that's what you wanted to do. For no other reason. Like
Probably,
they
yeah.
respect you. They knew you had a good plan, and they were just there doing it. And so that's part of it. You experience that, and you walk in today, and someone doesn't respect you, and someone doesn't. You're like,
It changes in 24
seriously?
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, y'all are killing the game though. Like I'm brought back to when Paul was talking about like, yo, like y'all say a lot of stuff about me. Well, you have good reason to, right? Like, dude, I was the
Yeah.
disciple of
Yeah.
Gamaliel.
yeah,
Like I was supposed to be the next
Right.
top
the
dog.
man.
You know, my bloodline is this. But you know what? It means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only thing I have to boast in is the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think about like, how would I do that? You know, I get so prideful so quick. That's why I got to bring it back down.
Yeah.
It's almost like every single time I have my time with the Lord, it's either there's something I have to do, right? Or something that he's revealing about himself. But it's oftentimes, John, you're being prideful.
Mm.
You know, why are
Come
you
on
so
back down.
hurt? Why are
Yeah.
you so hurt?
Yeah.
Are you not that? You right.
Yeah.
I is that.
And you're like, oh, okay,
You're
you
right,
got me.
that's
Okay. I said that about my marriage. Like, I think there was like a revelation God gave me maybe, I would say 5-6 years ago, to where I realized that I was bursting out. Well, not bursting out. I was lashing out at things, whatever. And it came down to where it wasn't anything to do with me and Heather. Like, there was nothing going on between us. It was like me as a man, as a friend, as a whatever,
Yeah.
that I was just struggling with, and I knew it, and I was acknowledging it, but it was coming out in all these other ways. God gave me this revelation one time where I stopped in the middle of like one of my little things and was like, you know what? There is no beef right here, right now. There's nothing, you have done nothing.
Yeah.
It's all this. But that's like admitting it's me.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
That's
So,
hard.
That's
but
legit.
ever
That's the
since,
hard part.
but ever since then, like now I'm not going to say I'm perfect, and Heather would definitely guarantee I'm not perfect in this regard, but I feel that coming on. And I know that my biggest thing is like I've set an expectation of how you should respond or how you should do something, and then when you don't, then I respond in a certain way. And when I feel that coming on, I start asking, okay, God, okay, what in my life? What in my life is making me go here? Like, have I felt inadequate here? Have I not upheld my end of the bargain there? Whatever, And God always points me back to, most of the time, it's your pride. You are exactly that, and you know that. So just move on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because I know the Holy Spirit's telling you, love your wife.
Yes.
Love her. And then you're like,
I
she
ain't
needs
talking
you.
to
No.
her. Yeah.
Love her.
Five more minutes of this.
Later.
5 more minutes of the silent treatment's really gonna show her what's up.
It's gonna stick to her.
No.
But I don't know about Sylvia, but I know about my wife, and I could try that, and she'd be like 10 times stronger. It's like, okay, you want to do that? Okay.
Talk to me.
No. She would like not talk. Like she would, if I wasn't gonna. Oh, me, yeah.
you're
I would
at
be
that point,
begging.
you're like, can you please talk to me? I stopped playing the game.
I would be like, will you,
silent
will you
times two.
please talk
Right.
to me again? So that's good.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah.
as men are not good at that though.
No.
We can
Well-
say we want silent. After about 5 minutes of that silence, like, all right.
Yeah. So what are we doing for dinner?
Yeah,
Like you try to change
so
the
you're not gonna
subject.
talk
Why
to me
don't
at
you
all.
love me?
Yeah, that's a fact, and it's in relationships, and it's in. And John started off by saying that really everything that we try to do is all about those relationships, and if we can build them at the foundation of Jesus, then it doesn't matter how we feel about ourselves because we know in Jesus what we are.
Yeah.
We're complete, we're full, we're free, we're all these things, and so these people are. I don't say these people. The world can't influence that way. We just have to remember who we are in Him and just stick to that and keep serving and doing and not getting caught up by my preference is this, my thought is that. Okay, cool. Appreciate you. Jesus told me to do this.
Yeah.
And just move on. That's what we got to get better at.
Yeah.
That's what we got to get better at is going, I appreciate that comment, but Jesus told me to
Letting
do
it
this.
roll off like water.
Someone last week, man, they came downstairs and they told me something like, I was trying to do this and that. They're trying to get the younger people to do something that older people do. And I was just like, well, that's not their thing, And I shut him down like quick, like, just quit. Like, that's
That
not their
probably- that
thing.
hurt 'em.
They don't think it's important,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And then I heard myself. And I was like, okay, stop. I think it's important. And I know you think it's important. And it may be important.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so I'm
The
learning.
delivery.
I'm learning and growing, and
Yeah.
it's a constant thing. And so anyone that ever feels like they have it together, I can't
challenge
vibe with you.
I challenge you.
Yeah.
If you ever come to me like I got it all together, be like me, you're out. Like
Yeah.
because what I know is this: broken, honest, lay it up before Jesus and say, "This is it." And Jesus that can take all that and make it into something beautiful. So it's a really cool thing.
Bringing people in.
Facts.
I think when I think of outreach, like I don't know how much time we got.
You're good. We no
but
time.
Like when we're talking about outreach, why do we outreach? It's been displayed to us as Christ outreaching to us, right? Because when you think of God, without us, is He still complete? Is He still
Facts.
good?
Mhm.
Right? Does He have community? He does. He's community with Himself. He's
Yeah.
a triune God,
Yeah.
right? But in His completeness, He decides to what? Take us into community as well, in creating humanity, in reaching down to humanity, going past the fact that we're in sin and reconciling us to that. Because to be honest, like a lot of people are like, man, I don't gotta go to church. Me and God like this.
Yeah.
We like
That's
this.
people say that literally.
They do.
Yeah.
That's do. Yeah. And so I'm just like, all right, you are like this, but you were brought into community to bring others into that same community, right? And I heard somebody, I can't remember right now. Remember, I have barely slept, but so they were like, can you be a Christian and never go to church? Yeah, you can. But can you be married and never go home and see your wife too? Yeah, absolutely. It's just a relationship thing,
Yeah.
right? And so me and E-Man, we're talking about once saved, always saved. We'll talk about that later.
We'll go deeper.
We'll go
Don't worry
deeper
about it.
later. But at the heart of everything, it's like you would want to share that, that passion, that outreach. And I think once you actually, like, you know how me and my wife say this, like some people just get it, and some people hear it and accept it, but they just don't get it. Yeah, they don't know. They don't. Well, it's just like an addition into their life, and until it becomes their whole life, they won't really understand why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Why it's more than just complaining. That it has to be literally like, why do I outreach? Christ outreach to me, and He kind of commands you to. right?
Facts.
So if you love him, you're gonna
Throw
listen
that
to
in
him.
there.
Too.
And what I
Kind of a commandment.
and what I mean now, you guys probably experience this too. But when you go and do it, like when you are genuine and authentic with your outreach, or
Fulfilled.
whether it's at a school, whether it's at a wherever, you're fulfilled, yes. But the people that you're serving or outreaching to are very accepting to your reaching out. Like I'm very
Yeah, it's
ran-
against what you think. Actually,
Yeah.
you would think rejection. No, I don't want to hear this guy. Most times, it's at least for me. I think it's
And-
the exact opposite.
Well, that's what I think people always say. So I asked a question last week. I forget what the response was, but someone had said people are always like this. And I'm like, are they? Or do we just always
That's our
say that?
perception.
Like we have always just said that,
Yeah.
so now we just say that.
Yeah.
And then people in the room or whatever meeting I was in, they were like, I don't know. Hold on, let me think about it. So I think, so I don't know if that's true or not, that
Yeah.
people respond that way, or we just think they're going to respond that way. So what I've experienced is that when I've reached out, Mount Zion, Clayton State, man, people are eager for someone to care.
Yeah.
And like when you care, they'll listen to Jesus all day.
Mm-hmm.
And God is doing a big thing over there. Like 15 kids raising their hand to be baptized or to whatever is a huge thing. I mean, that's not a
Sure.
small
Wow.
little thing.
Yeah.
I told them if like 15 kids were signing Division I scholarships, we would have a
Get the
freaking
news.
parade and
Oh,
it'd be
yeah,
on the
no
news
doubt,
and
no
everything.
doubt, yeah.
But 15 people want salvation. It's just like, oh, okay, cool, keep
That
moving.
happens every day.
So if what I'm trying to do is that when they fill out the form and I get the parents' contact and we follow up, I want to have like a celebration,
party.
like either
Yeah.
invite the whole school.
Yeah.
Let's do a big thing, like because it needs to be. God is doing a cool thing.
Yeah.
And so, get out of our perceptions, get out of our own way. Remember who we are in Jesus. We were commanded to do outreach, and so it's not even a question. It's just like, where's your heart? What part of your pridefulness is keeping you from seeing the value in that person? I guess it's a good question, a good way to say that. Producer, you got anything to follow up with today? Have you fact checked us on anything?
The
No,
whole time.
Danny did fact check my 600,000 number earlier. It was true.
Okay.
So 600,000 men were wandering the desert, John, in Exodus. 2 men made it to the promised land. Do you know who those 2 men were?
My boy Joshua.
And his boy, Caleb. So Joshua and Caleb, only 2 out of 600,000 men that made it into the promised land. I thought it was a crazy number.
Yeah.
And it was all,
That's less than 2%.
bro, that's way less than that. Yeah.
With our
That's like a
math that we
point
taught.
zero
Dude, aren't you
something.
in finance?
Hey,
Yeah.
Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. That's it. And we use calculators. But no, yeah,
So that's it.
that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For real. And those of us in fear, God is with you.
Yeah.
Like what does he literally say? He says, "Go forth and teach them everything that you've observed, everything that I've taught them.
Yeah.
Go baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit." And then at the end he says, "And lo, I will be with you to the end of the age."
Yeah.
He's not just saying I'll be with you just because, but as you do these things, I'm with you.
And
I'm the one doing it.
What I love even more than what you just quoted is the very first sentence in that scripture is like, all power that has been given to me under authority in heaven,
Heaven, yeah.
I'm given to you.
That's
It's just
deep.
like all this power that I have, you now have. And you're like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
God, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you do. And it looks different ways and it comes through in different ways, but that same power is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think remembering that when people say what they say to us, remembering that when the murmuring starts, and just being encouraged that God is doing. That's why I think I'm always preaching to myself, because I'm getting tied down with these little bitty things and remembering God is doing something way bigger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like before and after Pastor Russell is here and gone, God is going to be doing whatever he's going to be doing at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Before John ever had a heart for outreach, God was already outreaching.
Mm-hmm.
Before Sandy ever sang a tune, God was already leading worship. And so we're no one in this whole scheme
Yeah.
of things. And so our emotions got to take a back seat, and our servitude and our attitudes got to be all out on Jesus, and we just can't get sidetracked.
Yeah.
That's true. Facts.
And we got to get E-Man to come to events and Bible studies
do
and
come to
stuff.
events.
And
Speaking of events,
do
come
come
to
to
bingo
events.
night.
bingo night, Friday night. Bring your girlfriend. Date night.
I haven't missed the bingo night, by the way.
That is true.
So that's
That is
one-
true.
that's
You're
one thing you
leading this
can't-
one, right?
Huh?
You're leading this one, right?
I'd never agreed to that, but somehow, some way, I'll be the moderator.
Yes. So we are
but-
having bingo nights.
Yeah, bingo night, Friday night.
Yep.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. It says 6 to 8. It never lasts to 8. It's like 9 o'clock. So prepare.
Whatever. Everyone's having fun.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, prepare yourself.
And God just provided a
there's
bunch of really
gifts.
cool gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Now,
whenever
if you don't win, that ain't on us.
ball out.
It's bingo.
if Tom and Cindy win again, though, I'm gonna feel like it's rigged because they won the last two.
Well, that's not on us.
No.
We blame her husband. He spends the little.
Nara's the one
he
spinning the little thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he actually does not want to do that this time around.
We were looking for volunteers now. He just found out he quit. Thank you, Nara.
Right on.
Oh,
But John,
that's
thank you for coming on and sharing your heart and a little bit about ministry with us. We appreciate you. You're always welcome. Everyone's guests are always welcome. I listen to a podcast that says that they're every time they have a guest on, they're like, now you've become a returning guest. And so you're going to be an all-time returning guest.
Yeah, you take my spot.
Yeah, you did great. And you took my chair, and so that you filled it pretty good,
Yeah.
though. I like it. I actually like this angle better. I feel like I talk better looking to my left, not my right.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Didn't
Yeah,
you
you can
pick
sit
that
there.
seat?
I know, but now I saw that I chose poorly.
Well, hey,
So,
maybe both
like-
have a better
You want to
side.
try this seat
Maybe-
next?
Can you mute Eman's microphone? Like, subscribe.
Wow.
I'm just messing with you.
Don't worry about it.
So yes, like, subscribe, follow. Go follow Uriah and Mommy on Instagram. They are hilarious, and you can make Uriah rich, and then John can be rich, and we can all be rich. And so
Yes, Lord.
let's go. Speaking into existence. Yeah. So any other thing? Good to go.
I'm good.
Sandy, feeling good. Mr. Lee, appreciate you. Until next time, stay prayed up.
Little funky
Hey,
chicken.
come
Love
do the
it.
chicken dance in front of the camera, so at least the
Yeah,
people
at least the people know
come
what we're
stand right
talking
here, and then come on. Keep right there in the middle. There you go. Right there. Turn around.
This
Turn
is why
around.
he needs help with
There you go.
Hey, clip this.
Yeah.
Follow
Yeah,
him at Uriah and Mommy.
Yep.
Uriah and Mommy.
Like,
That's all.
follow, subscribe.
No free ads.
No free ads.